welcome back. Thanks for stopping in. We're going to do another study here while we're rolling today, Saturday. It's in the afternoon sometime, I think. 2 o'clock Central, just about 2 o'clock Central. And we're going to take a look at the Australian dollar in the futures market here. Do weekly open, high, low, close. We'll look at some pivots. And we'll incorporate the CoT study as well, because this one came up on the radar with a report that was released on Friday. All right, so let's jump right into this. Let's jump right in. Let's first take a look at the reason why we're here. Australian dollar lifting its head a little bit. 5 weeks prior, came up on the radar. 44% increase, and it's edging its way on the 3-year index. Better part of about 15%. So let's drill it down and just take a look. See if this is even worth a look here. Yeah, and this was interesting. It was pretty telling. So they're setting new lows back on January 14th. And then they start picking up the pace quite a bit in a 5-week period. That's a 58% increase in net long contracts. So not quite at the extreme that we typically look for. 80%, that's a significant hike. That's when we really start brushing up against the extremes. 58%, 41%, 44% aren't exactly at extremes, but given the nature of the downtrend that it's been in lately, can we make an argument that this might be, finding some support down here? We're doing the study anyway. I didn't know it looked like this. I thought comms might have had. They might be rearing up. Let's put it that way. But it's just not dragging this up into the 80. Oh, pardon me. Having a coughing fit today. Having a sneezing fit today. What is going on? I know what's going on. It's Saturday and I'm sitting behind a computer. Not fully or totally accurate, but pretty close. I got out on the mountain today for a couple of hours. Get in there, get the runs in before all the vacationers and all the Denver travelers get in there. It gets pretty stacked, but I'm a little bit selfish. I get quite a bit of weekly time in on the slopes for a couple hours a day. Get some fresh air, get some sun, get some turns in. I love it up here. Colorado. Like snow capital of the world, I feel like. So what are we looking at? Breaking down with comms are really not as bullish as I thought they were. And they're even coming down a little bit after their 3 or 4 week stint here. What was it, 5 weeks where we jumped up a little bit. Could it be turning at some point? Maybe. It's just really hard to say. Middle ground like this. There was middle ground here before, and 1, 2, 3. This 3-week hike was enough to set it in motion, at least for a nice bounce play. Picky chart, the euro. We're up near extremes back here in September, October. Had a nice little hike up. Comms consistently putting in the short contracts here. 2 weeks up. 2 weeks up and a hike. 1, 2, loaded gun. They weren't shy down here though. Under 20%. We spent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 6 weeks below the 20% mark on the 6-month index. This considerable amount of time spent down here should have been a clear indication when we were under the 20% mark that these guys really had a negative outlook. And the negative outlook kind of showed up. I mean, it's hard to see that 3 weeks up. Is this all we need on the 6-month index to get in on a favorable bounce? And this is only up 1 or 2. I mean, you got your 3 weeks here. Got an up week here. They tend to be on the right side of the trade most of the time. I started increasing their positions here. I mean, just if that's any sign. Oversold. Getting a little bullish. WPR down in the oversold, overextended range. 3 weeks up. And we run. And now we are hanging out. We are hanging out in the oversold area again. We got 1, 2, is it 3 weeks up? Was it 3 weeks up? Yeah, I mean, kind of bouncing around. Consider this an up, you know. I closed out some contracts, but I mean, they're still hanging out. Or get that middle ground. So hard to tell if we're going to get a bounce play here. It would be a nice pivot if this turned up and we had another day up. How high will it go though? I mean, here's this floor that they just couldn't correct. You know, we get up in here and we continue down. Tough play. Market sentiment's moving down though. When it's down, think rally. Sorry, woof. Sneezing and coughing, Market sentiment's high. Think short. I mean, that was the clutch play right there. Sentiment was as high as it was, and they were breaking bearish. We're overextended to the upside. That's just a nice setup, right? Especially if we're following commercial interest. Let's highlight this one. Right? Market sentiment really high. WPR, oversold range. Comms, dropping 1, 2 weeks into extreme territory. Could you have made a case that, you know, would take a blind short here? Maybe you wait, you get that pivot, and on this candle here is where you're like, yeah, I'd like to get short. You know, you got that fractal at the top. You're near the top of this range. Whew. Would have been a nice short. A nice confirmation up in there too. So I'm sure this pulled down in the range, pulled back in the supply, continued in its direction. Let's just load up the ATR. Pretty biased with the 9 length and the 2.5, but you can change this. And there it is. I mean, we look for this to happen as often as it can, and it was just nice that there's this support slash resistance sitting right here. Bounce back is up, bounce backs up, bounces back up into the range, and continues in the sentiments direction. Doesn't always work that way. Broke the range and just plummeted. Broke the range, pulled back into it, and continued higher in the sentiments direction. That's what we like to see. Doesn't always work that way though. Break the range, pull back up into the sentiment or into supply, continue in the sentiments direction. Happens pretty often. Happens often enough. And here the pullback just breaks through. So what do you do there? Break the range, pull back into the into demand, continue in the sentiments direction. Not bad. Not bad setup. 6 month are pretty bullish back here. Look at the 3 year and the 6 month index were pretty loaded, and we had a little bit of movement here. So if we caught that, that was nice. Market sentiment really low back here, but they just could not do anything with it. No real excitement here. No real excitement. Market sentiment hardly moving up at all. Different story back here though. With low market sentiment and then rising. And what do we have? Bullish comms. Sentiment was nice enough to bring it up through one well-known resistance or support area, but just couldn't hold it. Bulls couldn't hold it, and away we go. So, I mean, where does that leave us now? In terms of CoT, we're kind of middle ground here, and they're not doing not a big change. It was 40-something%, right? Oversold. Oof, will we get a bounce, or are we gonna have to wait here? Declining market sentiment, but we're oversold. Boy, we'd love to see these guys pick up the pace a little bit. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. We get nothing but really, a bounce in here. There's a nice bounce play. Broke out of this regression channel. Sentiment started blazing a little bit. Typically, when sentiment is this low, you think rally. Well, we did rally up a little bit. If you got in on this and you recognized it, then maybe made a few pips. As we traded back up to the 2-week low and then bounced off. So maybe there's your short signal right there. Range in here, and we break it. Come up, retest, and on the retest, do you blind retest here? If you didn't, he could have got in here. Resistance. Try to flip it. Just can't do it. Can't hold it. Come back up. Retest it again. And on this candle. Or we get rejected. Maybe that was a pretty good sign there that, hey, this wants to continue. in this direction here. Here's the continuation you're looking for. Lower highs, lower highs. So got some nice support up in here that they just couldn't hold either. There's some short-term support, and then we had, you know, from this pivot, that was a nice move. That was a nice move in this range. So hit a nice little bit of build-up. It looks like in here. Nice bit of build-up, and then a pop. Where's market sentiment at this time? It's a little low. And then we're blazing in the market sentiment. So here's that double, almost a triple peak in the market sentiment. And see, this looks so much different sentiment-wise than these other peaks. There's just this real hesitation at the top of this. Where is this going to go now? Is this going to continue on here? I mean, this is a really funny pivot, right? It's there. It's not impressive, but it's definitely there. Not overly impressive. Not overly impressive. So, higher low. There's your lower low. Here's your higher low. It's there. It's sort of there. Not a strong one, but we did break this pivot here. We're not in any danger, I think, of having a higher pivot. So where? Not totally clean. Would we have been looking for a higher, like an intermediate high or a short-term high, where we would have found it? We got a higher high here. Got a higher high here. Oh, looking back. Lower high, lower high. Lower high. Right? And we break our first one. Break our second one. Ooh, I mean. It's this market's, the market's way of saying, well, we'd like to go up. Cleaned out that second pivot. We got one. We got one internal, two internal, three internal pivots. Is that enough? That looks like enough for me on a strong impulse move up. You know? And now we're testing this area. And do we have a case here for support? Support lost right in this area. And we're going to pivot up. And away we go. Cleaning this out will definitely be a positive break for the bulls if they can break this. We break this pivot, this high here, this local high. Better position might be down in here. Market sentiment's blazing though. Hard to take a long position up where market sentiment is blazing. Really hard. Not always the case with market sentiment, but you know, in terms of this downtrend, I mean, would you have taken a long up here? Maybe not. Would have been a bad idea. Well, if you didn't want a better position, you could wait till market sentiment is diminishing and then think rally. So, I mean, no, I mean, you really don't want to take a position when market sentiment is up this high. You wait for it to cool off a bit, get a better position, find out that this pivot is in, right? Yeah. Standard stuff. Higher low. Got your low. Got your higher low. Market sentiment's blazing up here. You don't want to take a long. You're waiting. And we come back out down here and we test the 2 week ago open. And bulls defend it. Oh, we've known that, you know. Bulls are defending this. 75 EMA, does it help? Ooh, I mean, that's a pretty good pivot right there, right? That's pretty darn good. So far as swing pivots go. A higher low on the left. And a nice candle that trades straight through. And right here at this candle. Are your buyer, you know, right about here. Above the 75 EMA in the 15 minute. Market sentiment's a little bit lower. And away we go. Knowing fully that you had a swing pivot in this area and it was defended. Yeah, here's your entry. Yeah. I mean, again, you know, hindsight's always 20/20 here. It always looks easier on a chart after it's all occurred. So let's take a look at, you know, at the current condition here. Where would we be a buyer if we thought that this trend was going to continue? We wait for market sentiment to come down just a little bit, maybe come into this range, find support here. Because I don't think it's going to hold this pivot. I think we can come down and see if we can find some bulls to get on board here. So we break this down. Maybe, you know, the bears get trapped on the wrong side of the trade here. And bulls make them a little nervous. They push past. They take out this pivot. They take out this high. And now we've got bulls and bears on the same side. And we can take off. Tough call though. I mean, the Australian dollar is not. We'll have to look at some news too here. But CoT wise, index middle ground. It's hard to get on board with a long right now. Is this bearish sentiment offset just by this simple bounce? And I don't think so. I really don't. I don't think this is sustainable. I mean, we've got a nice swing pivot here, but I just don't. I mean, so we had a similar setup like that going on here. It was a nice, you know, but it came back down all the way, and the bulls had to defend here, and that was the time to buy. Are we buyers up here? I just don't know. I'll wait for something like a technical test, so, you know, somewhere down in this area to see if the bulls defend here. I just don't see this ripping up through the sky here. Unless we get something like this. Right now, market sentiment is parabolic, so well, the open's going to be pretty interesting. Let's see where this thing trades. If it dips down, and we can come back up and find support, and then maybe, you know, rattle around up in this higher pivot height range. So that's all I got to say about the Australian dollar. I don't think that I'm going to be playing this one. pending a Monday, Tuesday setup. Let's just take a quick look at the seasonal chart for. Holy hell! Good lord! Oh, the Australian dollar is just performing poorly this year, and in regards of the last 8 seasons, the last 8 years, this has not been one of their best. And it's hard to see anything on this chart that looks good at all in terms of rally. I mean, most of the seasons don't. Looks like a pretty darn good decline, coming April, and the rallying is very sparse. Yeah, I don't feel comfortable playing the Australian dollar. I really don't. Coming from this time of year, it just doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all. And it's probably par for the course here. It looks like it. There's better charts to trade. There's way better charts to trade than this one. Why the hell did I do this? I can't remember. Get some rallies and declines, and it's just get into meats, man. Yeah, those got a better seasonal chart than this. Better commercial interest data, if you will. Doesn't look good. But maybe we come up. Maybe they want to come up and retest this area before they continue to go down. So, I mean, pump not out of the question. Find support. If you get an opportunity, I think if you get an opportunity here, wait for a nice setup and short the thing again. See if it can extend itself back up to the 6677 range or 667 range. They come up, retest this, and then away we go. Nice round test. I don't know. Pay attention to the chart. We got a pivot. We've got a pivot. Are you a buyer? And are you selling? Hey, here's your profit target. Will they come up after these shorts? 6.6, 6.6 or a 6.7 range. Maybe they come up after them. Quick round retest. Come up after them shorts. So a failure here though, and see you later. Down we go. I don't know. That's all I got to say about the Australian dollar. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry there wasn't just more here, but I don't really see much to work with. At least me personally. But if you want to play the Australian dollar, that's up to you. I'm here speculating. I'm not a financial advisor. I've said that many times. Just some guy in his mom's basement. Just kidding, Mom. Love you, Mom. Anyways, Discord is open if you want to stop in. Should be in the description. Happy, safe trading. Hope you find yourself on the profitable side of it. Thank you.